Okay, cool. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Up To Date Festival and today's panels. The first panel today. Well, we're gonna start with the panelists. Let me introduce you to here, Paul. He's Booker of Trésor. And a very special panelist here today, now that we're going to be discussing a few topics. Over there we have Pink Concrete, DJ, producer, and promoter from Prague. Melania, also DJ and producer. And D-Tech, the almighty owner of the festival, brains behind this whole community we have here. So today we're going to be discussing the challenges of today's techno scene through the prism of the business techno game. So first, I think I want to get a little bit familiar with the game, and I want to ask you particularly, what do you think are the top 3 or 4 challenges that are like highlighted in the game? Like, what do you? Yeah.
The first thing that we wanted to address when creating the game, I think that it's a centralization of the scene, that it focuses mainly around big cities, big hubs, and the periphery has even harder and harder challenge to keep up, to be interesting for the people who live in the hubs, and to offer anything, to offer maybe a stable scene for artists or any parties or festivals at all. So this is the first thing. The second thing is that techno has been a dominating genre for a while in electronic music, and we all can tell that everything changed when it became the mainstream genre in electronic music. I mean, on the basis of the Polish scene itself, we could tell that everything focused on techno, and every other genre was just marginalized. And the third thing is social media and their influence of how it all works these days. How we all feel as artists, promoters, audience, in the time when social media become more important than music itself. So I think these are the 3 main factors.
So what I feel, or what I see there, is that social media has also impacted the way how the cities where the techno hubs are located, that they have actually become the techno hubs. And second-tier cities have kind of been in the shadows for a little bit because they are not so social media focused. Or is this something that you can maybe kind of like play with? So in theory, I want to start discussing about the different aspects of how social media has affected the scene, and how the techno has become now a business enterprise that you kind of have to meddle and think about all the factors that what makes successful, like a successful artist or a successful festival or a successful club or an event series or whatever. And there are a lot of factors that come into play. And obviously geographical locations or big or small cities have a lot to play, but there are a lot more factors that come into discussion in this situation. So I want to ask you guys, maybe we can start with Yalin. How have platforms like Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, how have they shaped the image of success of different artists today, or how has it happened for you? How has it been your experience?
I mean, it plays a very big role right now, especially if you're an upcoming artist that you haven't been in the scene for like 20 years or like plus 10 years. Instagram helps you a lot, or like I don't know, TikTok. I don't know any DJ who actually like got popular through TikTok. Do you know any? Like it's mostly like through Instagram, I guess, or like the TikTok ones are like super trash. So like, yeah, I mean it's facts. Even like Instagram ones, even the Instagram ones, like when they get super famous through Instagram, like significant clubs, even though they're good, don't tend to book them. Like I personally, when I do events, like even though I see the DJ, they're like super famous on Instagram and they got a fame through Instagram, and I see them, they're really good. But when I see that they got this through social media, it just cringes me a little bit, and then I'm like, should I book that person or not? You know, like it's a question for me, and I'm sure like for a lot of clubs or like bookers, it's the same issue. But at the same time, it's like a great tool. Like it's so easy to reach to people, you know, like just, oh, I have a release today, and immediately a couple thousand people hear about it. And back in the days, it had to be through people, so the labels had to like you, or like the clubs had to like you, which is also a good thing. It's like a filtration. So, but also like if you're coming from like a very small town that you don't know anyone, there's no clubs, there are no clubs, it's a great tool, you know, to put your music up.
The system works provided you have followers. First you have to get the followers, you know, and it's also in the game, you know, you create your brand, like artist or promoter brand, through gaining followers, reach on social media. And this is the same thing in real life. Imagine that we are a starting artist and we want to get followers, you know, be in the scene, be involved, be recognized. The starting point is brutal. I mean, you need to pay money, actually, if you want to reach people, you know, or just dedicate everything to do it organically. I mean, you need to network, you need to visit festivals, clubs, meet people.
But it has always been like this,
yeah,
no?
but now you have this additional burden, because if you're not on Instagram, and it's like a truism, you know, if you're not on Instagram, you cannot get recognized. It's like extremely difficult.
Are you really doing everything you can do as an artist to expose yourself if you're not doing social media? You know, and I feel like some artists, maybe you can take a step back and kind of see like, okay, maybe these are my limits and I don't want to become an influencer, you know, for that sort of sense. But then you see, like, you kind of check out the metrics a little bit, because like you said, like the followers, you have to create followers to kind of like create a name for yourself. But do the followers also translate into the demands as an artist? Like the more followers you have means that the artist has more demand, or
I don't think
what
so.
does it mean exactly?
No.
That's really dependent on you looking at the data metrics, which is a bit, like we're talking about business techno. It's like that is the business side of things, where people try to look at how many followers you have, but they don't even take that next step and then see where those followers are based. So if you're booking a festival in here, and then you're like, oh look, we have 15,000 followers, like, yeah, but are any of them even based in Poland? It's like, why is that a selling point to ask for more of a fee, or for whatever reason, when it doesn't even apply to you as a promoter for a festival? It's
We don't take Instagram into account when you're choosing artists for the lineup, but I realized that it's an important factor for some events, for sure. But yeah, there's also the thing if those followers are actually people, actual people, you know. Yeah, you can buy followers, like in the game.
Yeah, I just want to talk about, like, I talked about the artist perspective, but I want to talk about also like promoter perspective. Like technology is great, but over promotion always attract the people that you don't want for the parties. Like whenever we put out our event on Resident Advisor even, or like on Instagram, we pay promotion, we always have to pay more money on security. You know, it compensates actually. Like once you have like a community and you have contacts, you have the contacts of these people. Like right now we do only Telegram events, and I love this because I can just write a text on Telegram. I don't even have to spend money on artwork. I don't have to even spend money on like no security, anything, and everyone hears about it. Back in the days, if there was no technology, no social media, I had to put a poster, had to make sure that everyone knows about it, and ask people around. Email will be great, but still, you know, it's like still technology is amazing for this.
Yeah, I mean, my experience is that people that are younger than me, they don't use emails. You know, if they work professionally, they do, but they don't use emails to, you know, search for parties. You know, and back in the days, we texted people individually, right, to reach them, just to create the community like this. You know, posters
That's heavy though.
And everything. Yeah, that's heavy. You know, but it's kind of a vicious circle, because when technology allows you to develop, you know, your ability to reach people, there's always another consequence that you need to deal with, like with the security, you know. So if you're not established, if you haven't been here for 15, 10 years or 5 years as a promoter, you know, the starting point is, just unbearable for some.
How soon did you adapt Telegram as a method of promotion?
I started this during, so in Czech Republic, at some point, they let, during COVID, they let 100 or 150 people, allowed 150 people during the party. And I used to promote it through Telegram, like during COVID. And then we started like September, like fully on. And like we are so happy with it.
Was the traction for that quite, because we're talking about like how does an artist in Instagram, like start an Instagram account from zero? So obviously you also need to start a Telegram account. Because it's like that also needs some organic reach and needs word of mouth. So was that for you an easy process because you were already established as a party?
Yeah, it was easy because we were already established. When we said like, okay, we're throwing a party, if you want more information, we're not going to announce anything on Instagram anymore, you have to join on Telegram group. And like people get curious and they check, and it's easier to reach to people on Telegram because you send them a direct message actually.
But it anyway started via Instagram. Like people got to know, like the first party that you threw for here and there, for pinkies or whatever, it was via Instagram that people kind of like found out. Obviously, I think also word of mouth kind of like plays a little bit of the trick there. I think for Trezor it works a bit different because it's just the web page, you know, basically.
We're in a completely different ball game here, just because of its 34-year institution, and it's, you know, I'm in a very, very lucky position taking over that you get handed the keys for a well-oiled brand. So we only did put the, you know, the fresh lick of paint on our Instagram account during the pandemic. It wasn't really something that we focused on beforehand. It was more resident advisor, Facebook events, and just within that time frame, the promotion game completely changed. Because Facebook was obviously the public service board for events. Like we always checked, you got notifications when someone else joined. It was a very organic reach in terms of how your party could actually, or how your event or how your festival could gain traction. Remove that and there's RA, but not every city is RA based, or people that check resident advisor. So yeah, that has dramatically impacted us in terms of how we get our individual events out, not just that we're open Wednesday to Saturday.
And do you think, like, for example, the use of social media has also overexposed different, like, clubs, venues, parties, promoters, whatever, to also negative feedback? You know, it's not just about knowing about the club or the party or the DJ, but it's also finding out gossip about it and how this all kind of like also relates to cancel culture and like expanding from there the concept of how social media can become toxic in a sort of way. So you've kind of like removed that for yourself. You've stopped social media on its own and you've decided to go into Telegram.
I cannot say we stopped.
You cannot say you
stopped. I don't think we stopped. We still continue, but we started we have an alternative way also to connect with people. But we didn't stop Instagram. Okay. But we don't over promote it. We like to take things more like discreet. But definitely, I don't think you can stop Instagram these
Stop
days
promoting.
if you're not like a big institution that people come and check your website.
Okay.
Even like the biggest club in Prague try to do this, but they failed. Like it's really impossible.
Yes, without social media today, there's no kind of like connectivity or kind of like a way to find out about stuff because people are just so used to kind of like the information just coming to them that the act of searching for it has also kind of just got lost.
Exactly.
So that brings me to my next question, and it's like, okay, so social media is a very important factor for artists, clubs, and whatever to be recognized. But how do, for example, for artists, how much of an impact does it actually make for them to start releasing podcasts, like different types of formats that is not just social media? Does that still work? Like, does that kind of like still advocate or kind of like move you towards booking something or another, or is it, or what's the preference there? Does it still
definitely
function some
I
sort
mean,
of way?
people seeing you active, doing things, affects. Like me as a booker, like a promoter, it affects me. If I see people more active, sometimes I forget about some local people, you know. And local scene is very important in Prague. Like we book international artists, but actually the local artists, they are the ones who actually bring people, and we most of the time book local artists. If we book like one international, two international, we book like 4 or 5 locals. So for example, I sometimes forget about them, you know, there are so many DJs, and sometimes when I'm scrolling down on Instagram checking stories, I see they're like more active, and I remember them. Like it's that easy.
It's recency bias. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
the freshest name that's on your mind
Exactly.
is the one you saw recently. I think that is the pros and cons of using Instagram now. Is like it's not the fact that it's not going away. And we're not talking about trends. We're talking about staying relevant. And I think if you have the content to constantly post, and like let's define constantly, is it daily or is it like once a week or something like that? That's another discussion. But if you're doing mixes, if you're maybe doing live streams, hosting a party, have a label, something that's contributing to the community outside of posting gigs, maybe that's a way to like ease the pressure of just filling the void with content that is a little bit different, that's non-music related, which I think that's probably where the toxic conversation becomes at the forefront of social media discussions, because now more than ever the organic reach is only happening when people take selfies or when people post things that are non-music related. So I think that's where the waters get muddied with that conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that kind of like brings me to one of the cards that I found here, and it's basically like a techno influencer association finds you for posting too much music on social media as compared to pure techno lifestyle content. So it kind of like brings you back to that, because at the end of the day, it's all about creating buzz on social media, no? And it's about, okay, you're doing a podcast, you're posting this, you're posting that, but at the end of the day, isn't every artist kind of posting the same thing? Like how do you foster like then how do you foster the diversity there? How do you foster like what sticks out in every artist? And you guys as promoters or as bookers, when everyone is posting a podcast, when everyone's posting that they released this, when everyone's posting that they attended this party or they played at this like DJ set or whatever, what stands out like in diversification, and why would you rather choose that artist A instead of artist B, even though they're posting or they played at the exact same party before? What's the difference that you guys
Like
are looking
branding?
for?
Branding, where they do the podcast, you know, like what kind of visual they choose for them, even like if it's just like random place, or if it's really related with their sound. These type of things are really matter. Or like what kind of label they release. They just release just to release, or they release because they really believe their music and they want to release from a sound that match with a label that match with their sound.
Yeah, that works, but on a deeper level, on a level that is way more like closer to what's happening on social media. Is that what do you have to do to not to get lost in the feed? You know, that if you record a podcast and you want to post your selfie as a first visual, it will probably reach like 10 times less people. And this is what I look at.
If there's a selfie, less people, then like more people.
More people.
Yeah, more people.
But the algorithm picks up the
definitely.
face, and this is what I look at because it's kind of a.
What does this matter?
It's a bit snobbish. I will just I'll be frank because I'm really disappointed with what's happening in social media, and I just disagree with it. And whenever I see artists that try to trick the algorithm, I just think that, you know, maybe we should just try to change the way it works together. Just they go with the flow, you know, and that makes me think that it's a just dead end for all of us if we just follow it, like, you know, just to get the attention. But at the same time, I wouldn't have come across great podcasts if it wasn't for the selfies in the first place, you know. So I don't know what to do about it. Just, you know, fight myself. It's like you know, I have never imagined it will be like something I would have to think of as a promoter, you know, 15 years ago, because you have to make these choices.
What I think what should be spoken more about is like zooming out and looking at the bigger picture. What is actually the trigger? What makes us to post? For example, like each click, it's a dopamine release. So people are getting addicted to social media and no one talks about it. And many times I speak also to some, to some artists who are posting so much and then they're like, oh my God, you know, I didn't even realize it, but I'm doing it automatically. I'm like, yeah, but, and then I'm just like sitting, scrolling and waiting for the information, for the likes. I'm like, yes, because addiction is not only substances. This is also technology, screens. We are a civilization of screens. And no one is really speaking about this. Before, back in the 60s, it was still with the community, because we were sitting as a family, right? Yeah. Not in the 60s, but maybe in the past life, probably.
But that's such a good point, though, because like we forget that we have like I'd say the main four parent companies of Google, Meta, and whatnot, pointing their billion-dollar technology at our face, and we don't realize that their analytics and their predictive measures that they cause us to stay on a particular channel, a particular app, causes, we don't realize it. Like it's predicting the next video that we want to watch, the next bottomless scrolls, all of those things.
Exactly, and
is
you think
exactly the addictive nature.
Sorry, and you think it's for free. Everything what's coming from the capitalists for free is the biggest devil behind it. And no one is really thinking of it. There was
that I think it was Doritos, I'm not sure, but they created, this is probably a couple of years ago, created a Doritos dance and got kids to do the Doritos dance. That's just free advertising. Yeah. They didn't have to come up with it, they didn't have to spend any money on a marketing campaign, do high production ads. The users were the ads themselves and they were just promoting that. So we're susceptible, everyone's susceptible to that, and that's greater than, like you said, you have to zoom out a little bit.
Smart.
Yeah.
Let's just create techno dance, you know. Deep techno dance.
This already exists.
For kids.
TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok.
So if it has become part of like playing the game and like feeding this algorithm and what kind of like releases more dopamine for people, then Instagram has also kind of like become a battle of like coolness and looks and what is more satisfying to the eye to look. What can I press? Like what can I like? And what is more likable to people? So it has become like you have to kind of find diversity among that kind of like coolness factor that everyone's trying to like seek or pursue. Like, yeah, you're behind like a screen, but you're always trying to look what is inspirational for you, you know, and that's why your algorithm throws the things that they're throwing, because these are the things that you like. These are the things that release more dopamine for you as an individual. This is what can make you more addicted to the screen. So at the end of the day, if you're playing the game of social media, it's because you're feeding people's dopamine and you're feeding this kind of like situation. But then it comes again with like the diversity thing. I want to bring it back to that. Is it also showing, for example, in festivals? Is it, or for artists? Now I see a lot of different formats of how artists play and how that's cooler. You know, this new formats of back-to-back, face-to-face, you know, that two DJs playing vinyl, one in front of each other, and they're matching tracks together. Or I see a lot more hype around live performances, for example. Is this also feeding, like, you as bookers, is this feeding your dopamine? Like, is this feeding what you want, and this is what how you select your artists?
I like watching vinyl DJs playing all those 4-decks battles. But at the same time, I have never booked any of them because I get this feeling it's done for the Instagram. I'm very suspicious all the time.
So you're just consuming it on the Instagram
but I'm actively thinking about it. What it's all about? Is it about music or is it fake or not? You know, it's like totally it's toxic. It's getting really toxic for me. So because I cannot trust it anymore.
I mean, for as a like a consumer of concerts and like I'm loving the fact that there's been an elevation of ambient and experimental concerts over the past half decade, because the production levels and the contextualization of this type of music is such a joy to watch, because before it was just some dude on a laptop and you just saw the Apple logo and it was maybe a bit of fog and that was it. Now that there's proper, really amazing large-scale productions that feed into that. Of course, it's making things look beautiful for the feed, but I definitely think because it's a bit of an interesting feedback loop, because people are thinking, okay, how can I present something that's not just for social media, but how can it be filmed? Because everything now does need to be documented. I mean, there were a lot of things that were documented before, but I do think the pressure to document every event that you do means that, like, you know that the cameras are watching. So there is positives and negatives to both of those things.
Do you think there is like diversifying in these kind of like performances, even when you're booking? Is it important to maintain like the lineup, and is it important to maintain like a sort of like freshness night after night that you're booking? Is it something that is automatically you think, oh, I have to book a live performance for every single night, or I have to book a back-to-back, or I have to book something like this? Is it something that you guys take into consideration to freshen up your lineup, or is it just something more?
There are certain changes in the scene that I find extremely positive, like you know, actively thinking about booking more women, because it's been a very long time that they have been overlooked, you know, and you know, we all know what I'm talking about, and but applying a certain rule. Like, I need a live performance every night, or I need or
a 50-50 lineup.
50-50 lineup. I think it can get a bit out of control, and it sometimes gets really extreme, and the musical factor gets lost. And that's we need to be aware of what we are doing, and not to impose anything on ourselves, because it narrows the perspective. I just try to stay open when I think about lineups, and question myself every time I go for certain choices. So there's no other way, because it evolves. It's the every year for the festival there's a different perspective and evolves, and it is highly influenced with what is going on in the scene. So yeah, I don't have the exact answer to that.
I mean, I think the the problem's a lot less relevant now in larger metropolitan cities, such as Berlin, where it's a saturated market. The choice of having a diverse lineup it shouldn't be a question now. It's not a matter of like, oh, I can't find anyone. It's not like a white dude DJing. Like, it's Berlin. It is a very healthy scene that has sprung up. I do think maybe it's an interesting discussion for like rural promoters or small town promoters where the scene's not so strong and the emphasis on booking a headline DJ, touring to actually bring people down, and then you only have one or two options, one slot option. That then becomes a question of trying to diversify lineups. And then if you go into like subgenres of different music outside of techno, maybe that there's even less diversity in people who are actually playing. So I think that's more of an ongoing discussion that needs to still probably happen. I definitely can't speak on behalf of that. But in terms of live sets and back-to-backs, it's just depending on the context of the lineups and the curation itself. If it needs a if it needs a live act. But what I will say is also working with the small experimental promoter-based club next to Tresor, speaking with promoters, it's getting, like, these are all grassroots, local collectives, labels, even just sole promoters. It's getting really difficult for them to book live acts because of the finances. You're on top of booking inflated flight costs, hotel costs, traveling, all of that just for booking one artist. You then have to cover for, music equipment, like rental equipment for their tech riders, all that stuff that we as a venue don't provide outside of the basic setup. So we are finding that over the past 18 months, less and less demand or bookings for live acts, I think, from a financial point.
Okay, so I really love how we've kind of like talked about the social media aspect, but now I want to also talk about how this affects, or maybe it doesn't, it also affects like the mental well-being of the people, of the stakeholders that are all kind of like in this situation. You said that if you post your event on Resident Advisor, you're gonna have to also pay more money for security, right? How do you guys foster, like, because in bigger cities, I feel like it's much more controlled, like the whole idea of mental health in the scene, in the clubs, the fostering of like a diverse lineup, of protecting queer people, trans people, of protecting people of color, of minorities, how does that also kind of like translates into smaller venues? Like, how do you kind of deal with that pressure in smaller rural areas where there might be not so many individuals like in Berlin that are so open and flamboyant about their sexuality or about their color, but more in smaller areas where it's not as common or it's not as open? So you say that you pay more money for security, but the more money for security is to keep the attendees safe, to keep the staff safe, to keep the DJ safe. Like, what is it for? What is the idea behind having the wrong people at the venue? Or, yeah.
I mean, like, the vibe is off immediately, come on. Also, you don't want to deal with sexual harassment. Like, I've been working as a promoter for like 5 years, and like in the first 2 years I had the worst experiences. Like, is the last thing that you want to deal with as a party organizer is with a sexual harassment, or like a toxic guy ruining the whole party, for like 200, 300 people.
It takes just one
guy,
one horny guy.
One guy, yeah. It's like 99% straight men. Like, this is a fact, and you gotta be careful, So, like, you have to be careful at the door before you take these people. You have to filter them, and after even the filtration, there might be some little bit of problems, Especially if you don't do community events, if you're like running like a I don't know, a big club that has to financially be stabilized, yeah. Yeah, it's really tough, honestly. Like, I can't imagine how would you run a club, especially like with these prices right now of like rent and. Whew, yeah.
It's true. Like just to touch on what you said at the start was, there is a big difference, and I think everyone has the experience of going to on this panel, going to like a queer party versus going to maybe I wouldn't say a lad party, but like, you know, it's a very, very, very straight orientated event, and there is a difference already in the environment and the atmosphere that, you know, just dudes just taking up space it's not a good feel, especially when then alcohol and drugs are involved towards the latter end of the night. It ruins the party, and it doesn't make people want to come back, and there's no, they have that one reminder and they never will go back. It's so hard you take so long to build up trust and an instant to break it, and yeah, that can cripple a promoter if they we like yourself that has not that many opportunities to build up a name and reputation.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think it does come from a position of privilege to kind of walk up to a door and say, you can't enter, but you can. You know, because you have enough people that want to come to your party that you can choose at the door who comes.
Definitely.
Because there are some, this is what I mean by in smaller areas, you count with those exact 100 people that enter. And if one person doesn't come in because X or Y, Z, you didn't win money in the event. So maybe, of course, the door selection is very important, especially in like bigger cities, because you also have a lot of tourists coming in, people that don't know about the vibe, that don't respect about the rules. But how do you foster these rules inside the venue? Like once people are in, what actions are in place to keep everyone in the best state of mind possible? Staff, party goers, the DJs, like what's happening inside the establishments or the parties that can keep the well-being of the people that are going?
I mean, selection of people. First thing, like the first filtration is super important. Not like just bringing the cool-looking people, but just like seeing if you see a danger, a little bit slight of a danger even, just don't let that person in. Definitely. And when you start working as a promoter, of course you will lose money. And I like one suggestion that I can give to people: they should not like focus on one party and another party. You know, like sometimes you lose money, sometimes you make money, and you shouldn't be stressed over a loss for one night, because on a long term this can be a win for you. Like maybe 10 people less came that day, or like 50% less came that day, and you lost like, I don't know, like 300 euros or something, but the vibe is amazing inside. That means that everyone in there will come for the next party as well. So when they come, they will bring people with them, and on a long term you will win. And yeah, being a promoter is risky, you know, like you can throw a party outside and it might rain, and half of the people are not gonna show up. Like you have to balance your income and outcome. Like you shouldn't rely on every single party. Like one party, this party, I need to be in profit. Like you cannot do it like this. Sometimes you're minus, sometimes you're in plus, and you have to play on the long run.
So then also fosters the reason why you're doing the party in the first place. Are you in it to make a quick buck, or are you in it to actually build a community base there?
Like when you're a student, I can understand. I was a student when I was also like, with all the money that I have with my friends, we just put it in and try to make a party, and you just don't want to lose money in this situation. But you can start small always, like a 50 people party. If it's like amazing, it's an amazing party, you know.
And that's how all of them start. But
Yeah,
I think that's the part of the conversation that's always missed, especially with social media now. We always see the end result.
Exactly.
We don't see the grind. We don't see the build. We don't see the slog. Like we've all been there when we've run a party where it's like 10, 20 people,
And
30 people.
you don't see unsuccessful parties on Instagram.
Exactly.
It's not reported at all.
Yeah, it's not reported.
And just as a side note, how was your experience when you did something at OM? How was your process, and did you think about the selection at the door, or were you in kind of just hoping that what you already have established, that's already, you know, inviting people to come down? Was there much of a challenge to control the door when you did stuff?
You mean like for having more people to come, or what? No.
On the night, did you have any like problems with
So when we speak about the last party, when the main act cancelled in the very last moment, of course it was a big struggle and it was a huge stress for me also. I was very excited because also this person didn't play in Berlin for such a long time, and it's anyway, I think for sure many people who told me also that, who were contacting me and were telling like, oh, amazing that you decided to book him. I already forgot about this person. I don't know, can I, no. Whatever.
I'm not sure. Maybe not.
No, what for? You know, it's just ADHD brain, whatever, thinking loud. That's what parallels.
So did you speak with the? Because like a lot of the time we try and have a conversation with the promoter, with our door staff, and was there like a kind of a dialogue, like saying, hey, this is kind of the crowd. Exactly, like just so because every collective is going to be different at these parties, so we try and encourage our door staff. If a promoter brings a selector, then they work together to kind of have a general theme of the crowds that they come in for this exact reason. And because it's only a 200 capacity club, they have that kind of flexibility to do so.
Sorry, I spaced out of it.
I tend to have that effect on people.
It's a festival time after all.
Did you speak with, or did you like with the band?
Yes. Oh my god, so much stress, but fun, of course. I mean, like there were many people who were coming from, who were already on the previous parties. They loved it, of course, but many people also didn't show up at all because the headliner wasn't there, you know, or like it was a pretty tough time. Also, it was the moment before it was October before the tragedy started in the Middle East also, so it was a very tough vibe. Many factors, which, like, just.
And I think that's a really important point.
It's
I think the fact that there's not one reason, and I always have this conversation with promoters, like when a party doesn't go well. Obviously, one, they feel that they're, that they want to find a reason why. Not to prove to themselves or to anything, but just to find a single isolated thing. It's not the case.
No, it's not the case. And I think sometimes you just have to leave it where it is, and you don't have to understand everything. Like, more thinking with your heart, believing in something, leave the ego out of this game, and just focus on what you really want to do, and with your true intention. That's it.
And it's such a, you can't blame just the weather. You can't blame just, there are so many, especially in a saturated market such as Berlin. I'm sure London or a few other places have the same problem. There's also 1,000 events on every week, and that could draw someone away. And you can't go, oh, it was just this event that was on that. It's like, there's always just that event on every weekend. But I think it's more of talking about mental health. I think that's more of a good tool or a good approach to have as a promoter or as an artist. Is like, it's not you, it's not your fault. There are other external factors that are at play that you can't control. So don't try and control them, and don't let that stress you out or keep you up at night.
Speaking of mental health, it was so far the last event I've done.
Never again.
No, not ever, never again. But as you said, like there is so much other factors which brought like me to the state where I decided, like, okay, for now I need a break from the parties, from promoting. Yeah.
My last event was 2022. Like, all right, I need a break for that. Yeah, I'm good.
Sorry, I can tell like choosing the right size of a space is really important, so you don't get stressful to fill that up. Like if you feel like you can fill a 200, if you feel a club that is like 200 capacity, don't do it. Don't do a party in a 500 capacity club. Yeah. You will be fucking stressful. And like I know so many promoters, they have been doing it for like 10 years and they still get so stressful, like it is a stressful job, and like you should try to make it as less stressful as possible, like
it's about fun in the end.
Yeah, exactly. And people come for you.
You bring, of course. Like I remember when I was organizing before even, and the club was paying for a party, and then the manager of the club was there and was just like so stressed out, and I was like, oh my, and the party just started, like even not an hour, And he's already, no, it's gonna come. No.
So many things. Actually, everything that you've been saying resonates so much with me. It's like, I remember when we were running a club, like it was such a torment to be there at the start of the party and wait and to find out if people will come or not. You know, it's like,
but you cannot know. You know, like you're not a fortune teller.
Just horrible, kills everything.
It is, especially if it's not. You know, if you didn't pay for it by yourself, or like.
Imagine that you're paying on the more stressful.
Depends on.
The long run is, you know, the perspective. You know, the longer perspective is crucial here, but you feel it every single time. You know, every party is important. You know, on your way, the path is very long. You know, but there are steps, and you will never know how you will, you know, finish. What's the finish line? You know, and it all brings me to the conclusion that I think I'm addicted. Because every year, like the peak time of my stress is the up to date Friday, and at 10 p.m. yesterday, I felt like I don't even know why I'm doing this. You know,
it's
just what I'm putting myself through. Why? 2 hours later, yes. Yeah,
and
I don't remember the stress anymore, you know.
At the end of the event, you're like, "Fuck, I love it."
Yeah, it's like I love you all, guys. I love everyone. It's
worth it.
Amazing, you know.
Maybe I lost like 5,000 euros, but it's worth it.
This is the dopamine rush, you know. It's just this is still what is more intense than Instagram, like 100 times more intense. You know, it still keeps us together, I think, you know, as a scene. You know, this feeling of being together, doing something together, and we all feel this understanding in the air. You know, that's why you don't need those random guys, you know, intruding your event, because they kill the unity, you know.
But this is it. Once again, we're coming to the duality. You cannot see the light without the darkness.
Melania, always wise.
Yeah, so
it's all very philosophical, you know.
So it's about the mental health is about just kind of like managing those like high pressure situations and how you make them less high pressure for yourself, or how you like learn how to tolerate them inside. And I feel like every person that is involved with the scene has their own high pressures. Like the sound engineers, the CDJ is suddenly not working, or it's like flickering or whatever, or the mixer, or I don't know, the lighting, the stage manager, the booker, the artist fell through and canceled last minute. Like you must obviously have your support systems internally, like amongst your friends, amongst your coworkers, amongst your colleagues, staff, you know, like plan B options, because it's not just so easy all the time that everything just works perfectly. Like yesterday when I said, "Hi, are you stressed?" and your eye was like twitching.
Don't ask that.
Okay,
message.
Wrong
telling
question.
you help me.
Wrong question. Wrong question. So yeah, and I feel like you can obviously mitigate or try to like prevent these high pressure situations as much as possible, where you pay more security at the entrance, so you have to think about less things while you're inside of the party, because you have enough things to worry about already. But
then there's budget.
And then there's budget, exactly. And then there's really big clubs, like for example Trésor, you know, that have open 5 nights a week. Like you have to kind of like really manage that people that come, they might seem very presentable at the door, but as soon as they walk inside, they're a completely different person. You know, when you have drugs, when you have alcohol involved, when you have a loud, dark, sweaty basement with absolutely no signal downstairs, so the strobe lights, like people go mad a little bit. So there also has to be some dynamics inside that kind of like help people out, you know, or like a support group. I imagine that the party that you threw at home, or like the question that he was kind of addressing is, did you give any instructions to the door or to the staff of like how did you see? 。 . 。 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。
You can always give instructions, but they don't care. When we
yes.
open the
matter.
It depends on the like the
Who's on the door?
who's on the door, but also the control that you have on the door. In Om's case, they work
Exactly.
with the promoter's selector, so there is like a conversation that always happens. But yeah, in terms of like a larger club like ourselves, it's not the case. It's like we have to trust that our
You have to have an awareness team
we have to have
inside
an
the
awareness
club, for
inside the
example.
club, for sure.
Exactly. I
Yes.
know that now there's like some strategies also with the Club Commission in Berlin
we
that's
have
about this
Sonar
whole
as
mental
well.
health, mental health in clubs, and like this whole study that's going on. So many panels and conversations about how not only like the people that are like working for the awareness, particularly that night, but also for the staff. You know, if the staff see something, how do they react? Like to educate themselves and the people how to act on certain situations that might be like challenging. You know, you don't want to deal with sexual harassment. You don't want to deal with like discrimination or like a hate crime or racism or anything like that. You know, so it has to. You have to have like some sort of like resources inside the club or inside the venues to work. What are the resources, for example, in Up To Date that you have with respect like this?
It's all the people that work with us on the basis of their passion and volunteers. We've never worked with any organization on a like level that goes through like all the years. I mean, it's like every year there's another challenge and another attitude towards organization, and we try to cooperate with some. But there's a thing that the periphery has to deal with. I mean, there's the budget. I was thinking while you were asking the question about our club experiences and in general the club scene in Poland, because awareness in the clubs, like working with staff and with security, you know, bartenders, everyone, is like impossible to have it done on this level here. I mean, if you want to set up a club that is following all those rules and with aware staff and good security, people.
Does it lose the magic also?
It's about first of all hiring the right people. It's like there's such a rotation, you know, in stuff. There's so much costs involved when you run a club that barely gets like 150 or 200 people a night, and you need 300 every time to break even. It's you don't think about hiring an awareness team, you know, because you just can't do it. You just need to find people that will dedicate their time. They are passionate enough to support you and support the cause, support the scene, and this is what we do with Up To Date. We did with FOMO Club. Try to engage people to support, you know, because setting up the whole machine like on a professional level with good tech guy, you know, good manager, bar manager, and everything is just impossible.
Just having one tech guy. You know, some parties they don't even have that. It's like it's the bar manager that helps.
Totally,
that is a DJ himself.
Yeah.
But like what you said about like handling pressure in general, it doesn't matter if you're back of house or if you're an artist. Like from experience, reading and listening to podcasts about other professions that have high pressure situations is extremely helpful. Understanding how, you know, firefighters or paramedics deal with their job on a daily basis. You can take those tools and allow yourself to de-escalate a problem when it happens. Mm-hmm. You have a flight an artist that has their flight cancelled and they're the main act. You know, how do you handle that? Like, there is going to be a solution to the problem. I think that the overwhelming sensational feeling that you get when you get hit with that news kind of overrides the fact that you can find a problem. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, sometimes the solution, sometimes you have to throw money at it. If you don't have the money, then there are going to be other solutions, but that's usually number one. Can we throw money at it? But on more of a local grassroots sense, there are other solutions that, and most of the time they turn out to be the most creative ones that you can implement in future circumstances.
Yeah, cool. Okay, perfect. I mean, I feel like this is my last question for mental health. Now I want to move towards a little bit more of like globalization, and what you said was like the first challenge and how it's tricky for people or for events that are more in like smaller cities to be compared and to be kind of noticed when there are such like big hubs like Berlin, like Amsterdam, like London. So how do you kind of like work with the events that you're throwing, and also you, Yalin, like how has like globalization or the fact that now a lot of people can access or know of your venue? I imagine you have people coming from different parts of the world to attend to your venue specifically. Like, and now there's also kind of like an increase in trends of also throwing your events in a different city. Have you seen that going on? So that's like Vault Sessions, for example. It started in Amsterdam, and now they've even thrown a party in Colombia in December last year, which I thought was wild, but it's nice. But how do you guys also kind of like relate to that? Is it something that works, doesn't work? How do you, does it increase? Does it make the scene here better, or does it just work for the brand?
Oh God. That's
It's a tricky question.
I have all those slogans in my head: capitalism, predator, invasion. Even, I mean, foreign promoter brands coming to Poland usually just exploit. You know, it's not about building community. I think, you know, it's just the sign of the times, you know, the monetization of the culture. And I don't want to judge any promoter if they're doing it, you know, for the right reason from our perspective. Either they do it, you know, for the money, but it's not building anything locally here, you know, for Polish crowd. I mean, these are like projects, brands, products. And it's just exploitation. And if it comes to the big formats, you know, there are some certain smaller things that are happening, collabs. I mean, if the local promoter works with a certain foreign promoter, it really could work, you know, and it usually works actually because they connect on a certain level. And then there's this certain interest of the local audience in it, you know. So, but when, for example, Amsterdam promoter rents a warehouse in Warsaw for 5,000 people, and they sell water for, like, you know, 10 euros, you know, it's just, it's. I cannot find words for that, you know. Because
does that also like crush your local promoters who do try and do parties, because they get this big name that comes in, and if they're doing a 5,000, for example, 5,000 capacity festival or festival lineup, surely anything that weekend just is going to get consumed by people trying to even struggle to make a 150, 200 person party happen. Is that what
local promoters just cannot throw something like this? They don't have the capacity, you know. Maybe someone here would love to do this, but they just cannot. And big companies come from Western countries usually, and they just do it, you know, and they exploit the local scene, local market, leaving local promoters like helpless.
That's what I mean. Like, if a local promoter was doing a party on that weekend, that would be the end of it. Like they probably would actually. I'm assuming they would cancel it.
It's like cannibalizing, you know, the local scene a little bit.
It's not putting a spotlight on the scene. It's cannibalizing the scene for the local people that are trying to do something that's on a small scale
and distracting them from what's the main value of the club culture. You know, just they go and consume the big, greatly produced event with flashy lights, big headliners. You know, nice social media content. You know, the behind the back. You know, shoot and everything. They get the feeling they are taking part in something great, something noticeable and important, whereas the foundations of the club culture are totally elsewhere.
So do you think it destroys a little bit like the local fan base that you guys have been creating, or does it just simply shift for a split second into that other party and then it comes back?
I think it distracts people that mainly people that are starting their journey, into the electronic music. It just draws attention immediately and distracts them from getting into the real party, real community, like real connection between people. It's like I don't know, going to a entertainment park. Not taking part in a real culture.
Just to play devil's advocate, would you think maybe that sometimes for the new, like you just mentioned, like up and coming new ravers, new dancers, new listeners of music, could that also be a gateway to discover the local scene? Maybe they've only seen the flashing lights, high production party. They go to their first one and they love it and they want to find out more.
Yeah.
Is there also
it may
a merit
be
for that?
like entry level party. They want to go deeper. But what is really happening? Majority of those people, just keep on going, to those raves, and some feel that it's not enough for them. They want something more. It's okay. It's just the thing that is happening. We need to deal with it as a scene. I think is you need to take it into account when we plan, when we discuss things like we do, what we're doing now.
For example. When these sort of things sort of happen and ravers or club goers or party goers, and they go and they see like these big huge produced events with these headliners, do they come back and are they more demanding of the local scene? Like, we need this, we need that, now we need this, like the bigger, they had this giant screen, like why don't we have a giant screen? Like, does it become a bit more that they lose faith in the local scene a bit more because they got something great, and it's what we come back to, like the whole dopamine thing situation. That
it's a great question. Really, so on point. So on point. Really, I just always feel that they will be disappointed. We don't have enough lights. That's why we focus on the vibe and getting the right people to the festival. We scaled down 5 times. We are 5 times smaller than before the pandemic. And we're very good with that. I mean, we feel very nice, and we feel that this is the direction we need to go, Because we don't want to take part in this rat race, just to have a bigger production, a nicer venue, because it will sell tickets. I just noticed that over the last few years, the concepts for the festivals are evolving around the venue, the location. If it's nice enough to sell on Instagram, it will sell tickets. Not the lineup, Like majority of the people at the Up To Date festival, I think, they trust us with the lineup. And what I get from people is like, I don't know anyone in lineup. I know 3 people only, but that's so fucking great. That's great, and this really. Makes us, we feel that it's worth going in this direction, and just let others do their thing, Let foreign promoters do their thing, We will find a way eventually. I hope.
And less lights is better, actually.
Yeah, the Prague way.
Yeah, exactly.
How is it for you as artists? Like when you see these these big events in like smaller cities, or parties coming to tour on certain events, is it more interesting for you as an artist to play, like, for example, at these events, or not really? Or how does it change for you?
In smaller cities?
Yeah, like for example, when there's a big event, 'cause I don't want to drop any more names, but a big event, and they come to Białystok to host a 1,000-person event. And the next weekend
they will fail.
And then,
I never participated something like this, so it's hard for me to speak from this perspective because I started my career in Berlin and everything. So I think I'm not the right one.
I mean, I think Berlin's also not a really great sample survey because they're so anti-corporate to a degree.
To a degree.
There's definitely it rising in a way, but like. For most of my time in the 11 years that I've lived there, it's always been dark, dank basement, no light, smoke machine. The more higher risk of workplace health and safety incidents to happen, the better the event is. But it is getting a bit more glossy, and a lot of the things are becoming a bit more polished. I would say, when you're saying about new venues, that actually kind of works in a different way, maybe still for Instagram or like for filming, for content, but more for a refreshment of the scene, because I think we post-pandemic, we're a bit starved of venues that, yeah, we're bringing some, there's a whole wave of new venues that are kind of bringing, some fresh life into the different scenes, to the new collectives, to the subcultures of, not just techno, but in general. It's actually reinvigorated the scene a bit more, because there's now less of a monopoly on venues. But I'm guessing some for once-off like concert events, they would err on the side of like, let's find a venue for something like marketable.
Do you think this also kind of translates onto how like the historical and like cultural roots of techno also act like as a political format? You know, when you do different parties in different cities and your event has like this concept, because a lot of parties nowadays, now they also have this like political speech behind them, or at least artists do. So how does that work today with like newer spaces? Like how do I frame this? Let's see. So I want to kind of bring back a little bit about the political aspects of how this is shown in the techno parties. How I know Trésor is like highly influenced by the roots and like the historical compounds of techno, but now we see a lot of situations, like for example in Georgia, that they have this whole Russian law situation that is threatening the club life. And we've had it in many major cities around the world, that the governments are very against like events or party culture. So how can we compare like events that don't have a political background or that don't really stand with any like political stance to the ones that do? You know, because there's quite a duality. You either don't stand with anything and you keep your mouth shut, or you're super vocal about certain political situations. Does that foster people? Does that help people? How does that like
I think it's
look
just
for your
you should
attendees?
find the one that talks to you. If you're a political person, then you would want to party in a political club. But if you're not a political person, then you will choose some club that is like more silent. You know, I think it's a personality perspective. Like,
do you also think that it's a personality perspective when it comes to, for example, K41? Now they're throwing quite regular parties every weekend in Kiev. Is it also, when they invite DJs, is it also that part of that political stance that they decide to go to Kiev to play, or is it merely just because they're playing at K41?
I think it's like a mix, because right now playing in K41 is also like, you know, it's like I played there.
Cloud.
Yeah, exactly. It's also like, you know, it's like, oh, I played there, I went there and I played there. It's like kind of like a promotion tool also. So I don't know how genuine it is, but yeah, definitely. Like if you go play there, it's like a political statement, you know.
And even if you remain silent, you can get drawn into it, because Berlin just got, you know, the UNESCO heritage site for techno. I just got back from Detroit, and they were all like, hello. And it really had nothing to do, like it wasn't our decision, we didn't petition for it. You know, this is a government thing that drew in the conversation into our ecosystem. So like, in this situation, we need to have a dialogue, which happened. I think it was a strong enough reaction from the Berlin community, definitely a strong reaction, and rightfully so, from Detroit, that fostered a bit more of a backpedaling from the government a little bit. It's still obviously in the process of being changed, but well, for the conversation to be had. But yeah, in these cases, you even if you remain apolitical, or you can get drawn into these things. But I think dialogue is obviously always just important in general, to have that conversation rather than make something inflammatory.
I wanted to go back to Kiev, as you mentioned it. Last year in June, I went for the first time there, and I was actually one of the first artists who went there in June. After me, there was like Miss Kitten, and my intention was, of course, I wanted to go there to support, because it was a very important case. I was stressed as hell, And the first time I canceled, which was supposed to happen 4 months before, because I was too stressed, because no one so far have done this. But then I did it because I agreed, and it was one of the best parties I ever have played, and I stayed true to the intention, and I knew that the vibe, that this is gonna be a big adventure for me, but also I knew that the people, they wait so much and they gonna party like the world's gonna end tomorrow, you know?
It makes it more meaningful.
Exactly. Like the same feeling I had like when I was going, for example, to Beirut, and the people also travel. They party there as there it's gonna be no tomorrow, you know, because you never know what's gonna happen the next day.
But your intention was obviously coming from a genuine place.
100%.
It's the opposite.
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know, so that's why it was like so meaningful for me. And I didn't, and actually I was coming from Middle East because I was there on a small tour, and then I had a like very, very long travel, and then I met my friend in Krakow, and then we took the long trip to Kiev. Unfortunately, I didn't have a sleeping chamber, so I was, ouch, big ouch. And I slept maybe 15 minutes, you know, just for 15 minutes. And I arrived there was a big delay also. I arrived at 3 p.m. and at 6 I was playing because they have just daytime events. I was almost crying, but I did it. And you know, the moment when I arrived on the stage and people started to like scream my name and they were so happy and screaming that I'm from Berlin, blah, blah, blah. I was like, wow, this is like, it was too much for me to take. Like, unbelievable feeling, really.
And it's a part of the conversation that never kind of gets, you know, introduced. Again, this whole crux of social media influencing our scene. You know, these type of conversations, you know, you would have to reduce the experience to something that's not quantifiable onto a reel or a post or something. You can't do that, and it feels gross to do that. But however, people would feel the pressure to capitalize on that and then make that kind of that feeling and promote that feeling and market that feeling. And it's kind of that duality that we've been talking about throughout this whole panel is how does this lead back to social media and how do people take advantage of that at the same time?
Guys, I think what a better way to end our little discussion. I think we're up with time. I just wanted to ask the public if anyone had a question for us. Yeah, could you come up here to the... Wow. Yeah, you asked the question?
Hi. I have one question. Let's say you arrive in a city, you live there, there is a scene, and the scene doesn't look so good. The clubs mainly work with headliners, the vibe is off. You don't want to go to clubs there because you don't feel good there. And what would you do as an artist?
Start your own.
How? What would you do?
Like start your own party, you know? If the party in your town is shit, then start your own.
But yeah, I definitely think if the genuine drive and the real reason behind why you're doing it, like you painted the exact picture. I don't like this. Yeah. Maybe I can do it better, or maybe I can do it myself with the intentions that I want. And you just, like what you said right at the start, it's a grind. It's measure your expectations, have a timeline of small to large goals, like any business. And again, it's not business in a dirty word. It is you're a promotional. You're a promoter. You're building a scene. You're building a collective. You need to have the why and the genuine drive behind the purpose. And then you just have to have time and patience, basically.
Like find like-minded people who think like you that you can rely on. Like I have an amazing business partner that I can rely on. Shout out to Sasha from here. That like I can rely on him anytime, you know. Like I don't have to be there because he can take decisions without my approval, and I trust him 100%. So find people like this. So if you can find like a couple people like this, then you can do anything, honestly. Like what you have to do, just get like a sound system that it can be crap for like 30, 40 people. And then I promise you, if that party 30, 40 people is successful, in 2-3 years it's going to be 300, 500 at least.
That's such a good point to support. Don't think you can do it by yourself. That sounds a bit pessimistic, but like you really do need, what you're trying to achieve is not a solo project. It's built around support and community.
Also, maybe choose people with different skills. You know, if don't start a collective like 5 DJs that playing the same sound, you know, doing the same work.
Oh, that's gonna end bad.
Yeah, like at some point you like, fuck, I don't want to do with you anymore. Yeah. Try to find like a light artist. Try to find like somebody has like a good visual, someone who knows how to talk to people, someone who knows how to build sound system, you know, stuff like this.
Someone who's good with numbers.
I was just about to say someone who's good with
that's
finance.
Really important. Yeah.
You do need someone who's grounded to reality of going, actually, that is going to cost some money.
Exactly.
Or at least write down how much you think you could spare.
Exactly.
This type of artist we can't afford. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Maybe next time. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I think finding a sense of, because if you arrive to the city and you found that feeling of maybe you're not belonging in this scene because it's just off somehow, I can 100% assure you that you're not the only person that is feeling like that, you know? Because techno is kind of about that community, and when you don't find it, at the end of the day, then maybe you're just there for the music, but you're still going to always miss something because you kind of need that. It's not a safety net, but you kind of need that communal feeling in every party that you go to. If not, it just feels kind of awkward. So by going to these awkward parties, you might actually find the people that you're looking for. Yeah. Anyone else?
Can I ask you a question? How many promoters are here? None? Two? How many DJs?
3.
Same people? And like this crowd, like, what do you do? Like, why are you interested in this? Like, okay.
So that is amazing. I have so much respect for that.
That's what it's about.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's great.
Coming. Well, thank you guys for this discussion. It was lovely. Very insightful about a little bit of behind the scenes of what we face in everyday life. And me as a booker, like, I obviously see the challenges that some of the promoters face, because my challenge is always like, okay, how do I get my artist to be booked on that lineup? But there are so many factors that are being taken into consideration. Location, what you said at the beginning, like if I'm booking an artist here in Poland, like, do they actually have Polish followers? Are they actually going to make something here? Or are they better just somewhere else? So yeah, it's just very insightful. And I think for a lot of DJs that are here and a lot of promoters, I think it was very nice to kind of like see also from your expertise, because all of you have very successful things going on for yourself, how it works in bigger cities and medium cities and smaller cities and little towns. How does it work for an artist if you're a promoter and an artist at the same time? Or for big institutions like Trezor, that you kind of need to carry a lot of weight over your shoulders into doing things properly because you're under a microscope the whole entire time. So, and how not to rub off people in the wrong way, to be gentle, but at the same time know what you believe in and what you trust, and have that like clear vision. So it's very nice, very insightful conversation. And I think the game obviously does a very good job with kind of like highlighting these struggles, and you also get a kick out of it when you read the cards. It's like, hey, today I woke up and I just woke up, nothing changed, you know? And it's about, sometimes it's very hard to actually make things change from one day to another, but it's about creating something, like you said, Up To Date Festival is 15 years old, and you've scaled it up, you've scaled it down, and now you've kind of like found your right fit and it's working for you. Yeah, you might be tired and everything, but it's working, and the people are here are happy, and you have that community, and you have things going. So I think it's very beautiful at the end of the day. Like, yeah, you might have challenges, but there's also a lot of love and like a passion for this subject. That I think that's the thing that at the end of the day keeps it going. It's like the fuel for everyone. So yeah, very nice.
I just want to add regarding like getting booked and booking people. I think this is the most important part is the personal relationship. And networking is not asking, is actually giving. Like when I first started, I had no idea what is networking. You know, I thought that I would just like go to the club owner and say like, book me. You know, I thought that how it works, and there's no information on internet about this, so you don't know if you don't know another DJ. So the best advice is actually like giving. You know,
Yeah,
if
what
you
can you
add
provide?
value, if you give things, then people consider you.
And I hate to spoil the idea of what networking is. It's not partying. It's not. No business deals happen in the bathroom cubicle. It's networking is actually networking and building a community. Just to clarify.
It's not going to Berghain. It's not going to Berghain closings until 8 a.m. No.
I'm not there
Me neither.
anymore.
Me neither. Okay, nice guys. Thank you so much.